Good evening, everybody. And this is Sports Freak from the D. This is October 23rd, Tuesday, October 23rd, and let's talk real ball. We have a lot of things to talk about today, starting with Major League Baseball. The Boston Red Sox got rid of Houston easier than I ever expected. I thought Houston had a better pitching staff. Overall, Boston, I've been saying it from the beginning, they're the best team, but I thought it was going to be a 7 game series. They did it in 5, and the last few were kind of easy looking. Uh, the outfield for Boston is probably the best I've ever seen. Between Bradley, Betts, and Benintendi, they cover more ground than anything. I mean, to drop a base hit in between them, to drop an extra base hit, ooh, that's going to take some quite doing. They'll suffer a little bit. They're going to suffer a little bit when they play down the National League parks. Betts will come in and play second, and most probably J.D. Martinez will play right. Now, God bless his heart, J.D. Martinez. Martinez is not a bad outfielder, but he's not going to be winning any Gold Gloves. In fact, the closest he's going to come to a Gold Gloves is probably with a can of spray paint. Now, both teams have very deep pitching and very deep hitting, but I see kind of Boston taking it in 6. LA's coming off a Game 7 tough series against Milwaukee. They play very well. I think they turn on the afterburners in Game 5, and they play pretty darn good. They did play clutch hitting too. Clutch hitting. The pitching staff came around big time. The middle relief and the closer had a good series. Now let's go back to football. No, in fact, let's talk a little bit about J.D. Martinez first. Okay, J.D. Martinez has become probably the MVP. He's going to be sharing a lot of votes with Mookie Betts. But I tell you what, he has become a heck of a hitter. And I just think it's too much of a coincidence that he became this kind of hitter once he joined the Tigers. He came across 2 Latin players who are known for their hitting, in Victor Martinez and Miggy Cabrera. Now, Miggy happens to be probably the best combination of power and average that I've seen since Manny Ramirez. And it's just too much of a coincidence that J.D. Martinez joined the Tigers, and all of a sudden each year he got better and better, and he learned how to use the right field, going to right field with power. What a coincidence. Miggy does the same thing. So I think credit should be given to Miggy and Victor Martinez for the development of J.D. Martinez. It could also be the maturity. J.D. Martinez was let go by Houston, and maturity hits people in at different ages. Okay, now let's go back to college football, and what a weekend! Oh my God! Let's start with my favorite conference, the ACC. Now this weekend was supposed to be a real tough, test for Clemson. They were facing I think it was 23rd or 24th ranked NC State. Now, NC State last year gave them a heck of a tough time. It was a 7-point game last year, but this year, boy, they kind of routed NC State and they kind of made it look easy. Last year, Finley, the quarterback for NC State, threw for over 350 yards, and he torched the Clemson defense. But this year, boy, Clemson was ready for them. They limited to 156 yards, 2 interceptions, and he really was scrambling for his life back there. Now, Clemson's running game was held in check, okay? But Trevor Lawrence did throw for 308 yards and a touchdown. He looked very solid back there. He has been solid most of the season. I still don't agree that Mr. Bryant had lost his starting job, but hey, I said it from the beginning. Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. Okay, just hope he doesn't get hurt. Anyway, FSU play Wake Forest. Wake Forest has been giving FSU trouble the last few years. FSU has consistently beaten them, but the games have been a lot closer than the score indicated. And this year was no exception at the beginning. It started out 10-0. It was all Wake Forest the first 6-7 minutes. Wake Forest did something silly going on fourth and a couple of yards not in deep Florida State territory. They were like a little bit past midfield, and Florida State held them. So the defense for Florida State was the one who really turned that game around. After that, Florida State got on a roll, and they were pretty well scoring at will. Again, I took it with a grain of salt because the Wake Forest defense is just atrocious, to say the least. I think they're the last ones on the ACC. So Florida State moving up and down the field, they look pretty. They did look pretty. They only had one turnover, which was excellent. But again, look at the defense they were going against. Now Clemson is a little bit better defensively than Wake Forest. So our defense, FSU, will probably hold Clemson for a while. I really do think our defense is that good. They can hold them for a while. But if FSU doesn't turn the ball over and holds possession of the football for quite a while and gives their defense a chance to rest, it could be a game. I really do think that it could be a game. And that's a major if. If we don't turn the ball over, okay, we have a chance. Of course, that was the NC State game plan also going into that game. And how did that work out? Anyway, we'll see. We play each other this Saturday. So let the game begin. By the way, we play NC State down the road, and we also face Notre Dame, which this weekend we happen to gain a national fan base out of Ann Arbor. I'll explain that in a little bit. But anyway, now to the Big Ten. Wow. What an upset. What an upset. You know, I thought Ohio State was good, and I thought they might get upset by either Penn State or even Michigan. But not Purdue, and not the way Purdue made them look. Purdue made them look one-dimensional. They couldn't run the ball. Okay, they couldn't. Hastings has to pass 73 times. How can you ask a young arm to throw 73 times? Okay, that's ridiculous. You're not going to beat Michigan that way at all. Okay, now congratulations to a couple of teams. Okay, Nebraska, Scott Frost, you got your first victory at Nebraska. Congrats to you. It was overdue. You pulled away from a 53-28 victory, I think it was. And to number 2, Michigan. How about them Wolverines? They just finished step 2 on my 3-step prognosis, okay? Step 2, you had to beat your in-state rival Michigan State. Step 1, beat a ranked team. You did in Wisconsin. Step 2, beat your interstate rival in Michigan State. And now comes step 3, which is beat Ohio State. I think you can. I think you've gotten better and better as the weeks go by. Your defense can definitely hold its own against anybody, except maybe Alabama. But take care of business this weekend, okay? You got Penn State coming up, and even though Penn State has not looked very good, they just squeaked by an unimpressive victory against Minnesota. No, against who do they play? Anyway, who cares? Penn State, Indiana. That's where it was. Take care of business. Beat Penn State and take care of business. There's 2 things I want to point out about this past weekend. Okay, 1, the things that happened before the game between Michigan State and Michigan. Hey, it's rivalry. Okay, those things happen. Those things happen all the time. That's no big deal. They're student athletes. They get revved up by things like that happen. You know that. No big deal. However, the thing that happened after the game. Linebacker Winovich. What a great player. He is an outstanding kid. He's a great player. But to refer to Michigan State as little brother, that's an old cliche. That is old. You look petty when you say things like that, And if I'm not mistaken, little brother has been kicking your ass the last decade, okay? So I would tone it down in that aspect. It is back to being a rivalry, but you got to win a few in a row before you really start talking mouth. The one thing I have about Michigan people is just that. They haven't won anything yet they're talking big deal, okay? Now, the road and the destiny is set up for you guys. You guys hold destiny in your hands. You take care of your business on the field, and you will not be denied a trip to the playoffs, okay? You are ranked number 5, but number 1 Alabama and LSU eventually have to play each other, so one of those two are going to drop out. FSU is going to play the other two guys. They're going to play Clemson and Notre Dame towards the end, in about a month. But you take care of your own business, and you'll be in, okay? Don't lose focus. Don't think ahead. Take it 1 week at a time. Take care of that team that is in front of you. Don't have no missteps. Win whatever it takes, even if it's by 1 point. You just got to win your game. Okay? There's another thing that I wanted to bring up, and that is the fact that this weekend and the following weekend is setting up for a lot of upsets. Things can change. These top 4 teams, they're going to be changing. You never know what can happen. So if you control your own destiny, then keep your focus and do your stuff. The other thing I wanted to bring up was Florida. Florida is one of those teams that has 1 loss, but it was early in the season, and Florida has gotten better every week. If you look at their defense is top-notch. Felipe is throwing less and less and allowing his running backs to carry that offense. That offensive line is opening up big holes for those trucks coming through. And Felipe is no longer throwing those big bombs into triple coverage and things like that. He's gotten to be the short routes. He's getting completions. He's moving the team forward, and that's a team to watch out for. Because I think they're going to beat Georgia this weekend. I think that's the big cocktail party in Jacksonville. I think they're going to beat them. I really do think they're going to get Georgia at the right moment. Even though Georgia might be upset because they lost the last game, you know what? There's doubt creeping into their minds. And I think Florida, if you don't play your top game against them, they can beat the heck out of you like they did to LSU. So I'm looking forward to a great weekend. And, folks, I will talk to you next week. And until then, leave your comments. Let me hear from you, okay? I want to hear from you. Thanks, and we'll talk next week. Bye.